I'll start with how I found Picara. It was through word of mouth, and it was really honestly, even before she had mentioned that there was a head injury, which there was, but that actually happened whilst I was already a patient of, or being treated, just purely acupuncture with Picara. So not that Picara is to blame in any way, shape, or form for the head injury, but the way I came into her life was just purely for, gosh, acupuncture had helped me before during a difficult time, maybe a decade earlier than my meeting her, a completely different person who was no longer practicing. And I had just mentioned that to someone who was a patient of Picara's, and she said, you really should meet Picara, and she's in our neighborhood. I thought, oh, that's nice. Walk on over. So I met her really initially, oh gosh, I get, some headaches, or I feel tension, and maybe just typical New Yorker things. It then proceeded to unfold into quite a beautiful relationship because we started to talk, and her method of acupuncture was really what I found so unique. I had experiences before in those type of treatments where you give some, you fill out a form and you then lie down on a table and someone puts, a sparse number of needles. I usually remember leaving those previous people going, I could handle some more. A few more needles would be great. The experience with Picara was that she actually seemed like she wanted to get to know me first as a person before she just started treating, putting the needles in. So I found that very unique. It kind of was a catch-22 because I then start to talk. Clearly, I don't have an issue with talking. So so we started to get to know each other a little bit, and we started realizing that I needed like the 90-minute session with her, which I found also very unique in this world, that she could actually blend like the emotional and the physical state of your body with a bit of like, intuitive questions that she would ask, very focused. And she somehow, in her unique ability to sort of almost sense an aura around you, or ask very pointed questions, or feel your pulses, and then say, is this kind of something that might be going on with you emotionally? And you'd think, I'm here just because I get like, a stiff back, and now she's somehow tapping in a little bit deeper. So that is how I met her, and we sort of transitioned from just a traditional acupuncture appointment to someone who I then began to feel really comfortable opening up to. And then we would do sessions, and then, that were purely acupuncture, and that seemed to sort of help like what I always felt was like a sluggish system. Interestingly enough, she sometimes would say very pointed things to me that would make me stop and press pause. One example was, I feel sometimes like what you're doing with exercise might not be the right thing for your body. And I thought, okay, what does that mean? She's like, you feel like it's damp, or it's something's not right there with it. It's either too much, or you're not like letting your body recover. And at that point in time, her and I had sort of bonded over our love of exercise, and had talked about how, I've always been a dancer and a runner, and I played tennis, but I had started doing a particular workout that was in a heated room, and you were basically told that you need to be there 5-6 times a week, and you need to be there for an hour and a half. And if you don't kind of drink that Kool-Aid, you're not going to succeed or achieve where you need to go. And so that particular workout, tapped into this like body image issue that I didn't even really think I had, but I guess I did. Maybe a lot of us do. If someone tells you enough times you have to do this to look better, or to eat that piece of pizza or whatever. But anyway, it was just so interesting because she was the first person who ever went like, that might be just a bit much and not right. Maybe you need to go outside. It was all indoors and in subterranean. And anyway, these little things that she could somehow perceive about you that, I've never met anybody who could make me actually stop for a moment and go, no, I absolutely am doing the right thing. So I don't even remember what the question was, which is typical, but, so we then transformed our, my initial, reaching out to her to something that became a lot more, about my emotional state and how that connected to the physical. So she really helped me realize that. When Picara mentioned that there's been a number of things that I've done, that have happened to me, some were circumstantial, some were, just absolutely random accidents. Some were just life in general. And she witnessed these moments happen to me. And she's the reason that I think I then actually figured out something quite large. That was quite an epiphany. But before the aforementioned accident, I had actually suffered a really traumatizing loss of my cousin, whom was really grew up as my sister, my older sister, and she was someone I absolutely looked up to and admired, and spent every family holiday. I'm the daughter of an immigrant and a refugee at that. So it was my father's sister's daughter, so my cousin on my paternal side, who, really the rest of the family lives all in the Middle East, and we were sort of the Chicago crew. Anyway, she sadly passed away. I think 20, this is a shame on me. I can't actually remember what year it was, but it was I think it was 2019. And it actually might be 2018, because those years all blur with the pandemic. So the loss of somebody that close to me pulled up a lot of other grief for me, because there were some other losses that I think we all possibly have as human beings that we, never addressed. So that was actually probably the first shift I felt, where Picara really helped me realize that I don't have to dwell on the past, but I need to acknowledge that I might have some loss and some trauma that she can help me process. And that was actually before I hit my head. That was one of the first major moments that I had in my relationship with her. I know she didn't mention that, but I do have to set the stage for it. She did sort of allude to all the things that have happened with me that, sort of set a stage for unearthing that. So that was one type of incident that I feel really truly grateful for her being able to help me process that grief, because it was really tremendous and quite overwhelming. And I also I feel like that sort of segued into a time where I felt emotionally I was starting to realize that I needed to talk to someone a little bit more than just, exercise my way into like a happy place, or yeah, I mean, not like it was like an over exerciser, but the things that you think that you were doing that were keeping you kind of stable, and was sort of coinciding and all sort of like kind of crescendoing into this moment where I did then reach this epiphany with Picara, where we just never expected me to go. Okay, so to answer that part of the question, very directly, so I'm just laying the foundation for my work with Picara. So we were combining acupuncture and actual just, deep talks, where we would just sit across each other and face each other. And the very interesting moment in time was actually when we were coming out of the pandemic, and I think Picara, this is what makes her absolutely amazing. I think she gets messages from the universe when someone in her life needs her, which, I can relate to that. She just does it in such a perfect way. She just somehow, I had been thinking about her and she had been thinking about me. And I had experienced a panic attack, and I had never had a panic attack before. Now when I had this traumatic brain injury, I had a terrible accident. And I think, I don't know if I have to go into the specifics, but I fainted, not because of drugs or alcohol, but I fainted in my bathroom. I was having an intestinal digestive episode, and I had had them before and I never paid attention to them. This particular time, I had fainted before. This time I fainted in my bathroom in the middle of the night, And it was just awful, but I was so sick, and I woke up on the floor. I must have hit my head multiple times on my way down, on pretty bad. I thankfully am alive and I'm here to talk about it. So there's that moment that I am very, very grateful for. I am still here on this earth, but I did suffer a traumatic brain injury as a result. And yeah, so that was really heavy. And then about 10 months later, we rolled into the pandemic. So I was dealing long term with a post-concussion syndrome and a traumatic brain injury that Pakara was helping me with. That we went a little more traditional, like acupuncture, and just trying to stay calm and centered. And anyway, so we then have the pandemic, and actually the pandemic was a good thing for me because it stopped me from trying to be 100% healthy in a way that was making me continue to be sick with a head injury. And that was, the world sort of shut down and I got to stay home, relax. I was with my family, my husband who travels a lot, my son. We were all in one home. We got a dog. It was good. That part became really nice, and I got a lot better. But I started having panic attacks as a result of how this narcissist in my life was treating me. And I didn't connect the dots. I just suddenly started having panic attacks. Like, what's going on? And so anyway, I think Pakara could sense in the universe that Tanya was in distress. And lo and behold, she phones me, she texts me, something like that. And it was like, you're on my mind. I'm just thinking about you. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I've just been thinking about you. I believe the first vaccine was coming out. And so like we were kind of starting to see that we could get together again. And we did. And this gets me to the big aha moment I had with her. So I came in there just to sit there with her and say, wow, gosh, the city's back opening back up. Here we are back in Tribeca. You know, I don't know what's going on with me now, but I'm starting to have panic attacks and I feel anxious all the time. And I haven't felt this way for a while. And now it's starting all over. It's actually, maybe I shouldn't even say starting all over. It's actually getting worse. It was increasing with frequency. And Pakara just looked at me and went, perhaps you should consider that the person that you consider your best friend is not your best friend, really your true friend. And I went, we hadn't even been talking about this person. I kind of looked behind me around, and I remember thinking, oh, okay. So that was like the end of the session. And she's like, baby, come back next week. Let's see each other next week. But think about that. And I did. And I think I Googled what a narcissist is and how they can treat you. And, especially it wasn't a romantic relationship. So it wasn't someone who lived with me. So, but someone who had seeped into every area of my life. And it was so toxic. This person is so toxic. So I came back to that session with Pakara and went, my God, you were so right, but I don't really understand what to do with this and what that means. And interestingly enough, purely through talking with each other, I was able to realize that that was not the only narcissist in my life. I would quite proudly announce that I had removed myself from, I had an abusive boss at my job. And, it was him versus me. Everybody believed him, not me. He's a classic narcissist. I mean, absolutely. Then I went and had a business partner. I went into business with a man who started off as my friend, became like my best friend, then was like, gosh, you could really use sales. You're so talented. If I could just sell your stuff, you'd so succeed. That's your weakness. And I'm like, yeah, it absolutely is. Go into business, find out he's a con artist, a sociopath, and a narcissist, and not who he says he is. So I now have my entire identity is attached to another person who's not even who they say they are, and they're selling my wares. So that's toxic. And then I've got, and then I have a string of female best friends. There was like from college, it started really in college. And then it would be like that person would leave my life, like this harsh exit that usually left me going, I don't understand what I did. And anyway, so Pakara and I just suddenly, it was like this light bulb. I hadn't even told her about the previous narcissist. She just only detected the one. And then we realized that is it. This is actually just that opening that I just didn't even know I had available. Was there. There was this opening, this door that I would just think I had shut, but there was a back door or a side door, and this narcissist would just come on in, find the opening, and they played some sort of friend or friendship role in my life. I guess because that was the only place they could find to that was where the door was open. It was like this friendship, this need to like please my friends, to be the best friend I could possibly be. So I'm forever grateful to Prakara for that, because it's something you don't even expect to find out about yourself. It was a very, very hard thing to accept for me, because I felt I was so embarrassed and so angry and so hurt. Again, another trauma that she was helping me unpack, that I realized was a string of traumas. That was almost like this common thread, this like baseline that was like how I was living my adult life. And similar in the way that I said to you earlier when you asked me about, how we started, she also helped me unpack, a pattern of behavior or a way I was living. And it was just simply that I had these tremendous losses that I had never really learned how to address. And, I'm going to continue to face loss, and that's life. But Prakara gave me some tools and showed me how within my own power, I can actually help myself through my grief and loss. And so, and then we had like a whole nother theme. She's like, little did we know that underneath all that was also a string of narcissists. So, without going into too many more details about it, it really just became a relationship with Pakara and myself. Working together, I felt really supported. And that's a really great way to describe how it is to work with her. You feel so supported by Pakara. It's that same sixth sense that she seems to have. She knows exactly what to do and how to time it to offer you the kind of assistance you need to get through something like that and tap into your own strength. But yet at the same time, you don't have to fully rely on her for every breath you take and every step you take forward on that journey. She just sort of guides you along the path, and that's really unique, really, really special. And, I'm still working through it. I still have some bad days where, I think in the particular case of a narcissist, that sometimes the anger, I probably am angrier than I should be in some days when I just want to be a little bit vengeful. I could very easily destroy this person's reputation with videos I have of their behavior, stuff I know. But that's not what this is about. That for me is like, that's not going to make me feel any better. And thus I don't. Kind of makes me feel good that I know I have this in my back pocket. But I also have to remind myself that that's not going to change that person's behavior. They won't learn a lesson. Narcissists don't learn lessons. They don't care. They don't have empathy. They don't have feelings. They're not really human beings, or they are, but they're just not very nice versions of them. And so, well, what to do with that. And I, again, like through the last session I had with Pakara, we really spent a lot of time talking about the way that things got a lot better for me. I can sing Pakara's praises till like, one other little thing I would say about Pakara is that I feel absolutely grateful beyond that she came into my life when she did. And it sounds a little bit, I don't know, woo woo or whatever, but I think there are people that you meet that you are just meant to know, and they're meant to come into your life, and that's just such a beautiful thing. And I feel so lucky that I found her and was able to just I don't even know how you seek out someone like a Pakara, because you have to know that you need them. And how do you know that you need them? You know, I mean, sure, there's therapy and stuff like that. But it's very, very different process. So a very unique way of working with people that I can't even really describe. There's not really a title for it. At least in my mind, that's, with Western medicine, this is how you go seek a Pakara. It's the only way I can say it. Go find your own Pakara or find our Pakara.